Poetry is important in Christianity, not only for the legacy. Most of the major poets, say like the 11th century through the 19th century, were Christian. Their faith really showed through in their poetry. If you read the preface to the New International Version, you'll realize that 60% of the Bible is actually written in verse. And that's not just the Psalms, but also part of the New Testament and a great deal of the Old Testament. They go together. It's part of the creativity of God, I think. God became man to reconcile himself to man. If that claim is the highest crest of love, and it is, then the Passion Play needs no other name. If an artist desires to take on the guise of his art, to walk among his art, will he not laugh and cry, as it does? Will he not fix and teach, lead and preach? Will he not then desire that the love he gives be returned? I started writing poetry a little bit when I was at the University of Kansas, but at the time I was more interested in script writing. Late 90s, I went back to school at Western Kentucky University and got a degree in English literature, thinking that maybe I'd go into teaching and just get out of entertainment altogether. I had a teacher, Marilyn Miller, who really got me excited about the craft of poetry. I realized I could still tell a story and also work with the craft of the art, so I got the best of both worlds.
The wolf is howling loudly through the silent winter night. Loneliness unguards my soul as he cries up to the sky. The Lord is out there somewhere in the dark of night, I know. I can feel his presence stirring through the leafless trees and snow. Holy Spirit moves and whispers through the sleepy wood outside, a place my soul fears and longs to go, beckoning for a fight in the land where battlefronts call out for the hero in our hearts. Stir, I say, to my blood run cold, the wolf won't wait forever.
Part of being in the created image of God is our creativity. G.K. Chesterton, one of my favorite writers, calls art as the signature of man. And that's what really separates us from the other creatures that God created. It's what makes us unique and part of the image of God. And that's where the art before artists came from, is created man, creating art, and giving back that creativity that came from the original divine artist. We always like to start our shows off. I read from the beginning of the Gospel of John, where it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And the reason I do that is, as a poet, it kind of excites me that one of the names of Christ is the Word. You know, not only is he bringing the word of salvation to people, he is the Word that brings salvation to people. And that just plays back in the whole thing of God being a creative. I mean, back in Genesis, God said that he spoke the heavens and earth into existence. You know, he used words to create creation. And I find that very comforting and exciting as a poet. We read about I Am and Jehovah the way we read Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. We anticipate Messiah along with all lost and yearning souls. Christ saved and continues to save our souls. And to say Jesus brings out love or hatred or any other feeling in between except for apathy or complacency. The first and the last, or Alpha and Omega for those into Greek, pretty much covers it all. And doesn't he cover it all? Brian Gavin, who goes out and he plays guitar, he's a singer-songwriter, just has an amazing voice, very soothing, very comforting. He puts you at ease from the moment he starts singing. And I got to know Brian working at the Ryman Auditorium about 6-7 years ago, and we really became allies and good friends at that point. We have the same faith, and we look at God the same way, and it's just a natural thing for us to be able to go out and perform together. And I know when I've done shows and he'll be singing a song, and I'll be just like, God, I feel so honored to be on stage with him, because he's just such an incredible person, and it really shows through his music.
Tomorrow I will run to the feet of your Son and raise my hands in praise. When I'm lost, I call out to Messiah, Creator of the light that guides my way. In my pain, I call out to the healer, Just give to me the bread I need this day. Yahweh, Jehovah, Christ, King, Redeemer, Savior, Lord of everything. But of all the names I cry out.
Some people ask me who my influences in poetry are, and they're not poets, oddly enough. C.S. Lewis and G.K. Chesterton really more formed who I am as a poet. Chesterton's autobiography, Orthodoxy, has a lot to say about the creative relationship between God and man. My mission as a poet is to explore beauty and wisdom. I think that's what, as a poet, I'm called to do. You know, God reveals certain things to me very specifically, and as a poet, I want to say it specifically so that people get it and they engage in it, and that, you know, they can say things like, you know, I've always thought that, but I never knew how to articulate it before. You know, that's probably the best compliment I've ever gotten, I think, as a poet. It's like, you know, I get it now. And so that, you know, that's where I say, oh, what a great poet you are. Now it's like, oh, you know, I get it. I understand that something about God that I didn't understand before, or something about His creation that I didn't understand before.
Peace beyond